Rule of Law is presentation number 4 in the Building Blocks of a Free Society series. So far, we've considered individual freedom, rights, and equality of rights. The rule of law supports these first 3 building blocks. It was the concept of protected individual rights that had given birth to a free society. Prior to this, the dominant organization of societies throughout mankind's history subordinated the individual to some higher authority, either religious or social, a theocracy, or the king or ruler. Consequently, most political systems were variants of totalitarianism. Under all such systems, morality was a code applicable to the individual but not to the society. Society was placed outside the moral law, and self-sacrificial devotion to social duty, to the theocracy, the king, or the ruler, was regarded as the main purpose of man's earthly existence. The common characteristics of these political systems was the fact that society stood above the moral law as an omnipotent sovereign. Thus, all these systems were variants of amoral society. All previous systems had held that a man's life belonged to society, or the theocracy, or the king, or the ruler, that society can dispose of him in any way it pleases, and that any freedom he enjoys is only by favor or by permission that can be revoked at any time. The United States held that a man's life is his by right, by moral principle, and by his nature, that a right is the property of an individual, that society has no such rights, and that the only moral purpose of a government is the protection of individual rights. To violate a man's rights means to either compel him to act against his own judgment or to expropriate his property. Basically, there's only one way to do it, by the use or threat of physical force. There are 2 potential violators of man's rights: criminals and the government. The great achievement of the United States was to draw a distinction between these 2 by forbidding to the second the legalized version of the activities of the first. Therefore, established objective law dictates that a free people should be governed by law and not by the whims of men. To be governed by the whims of men is to be subject to the ever-changing capriciousness of those in power. In such a society, nothing is dependable. No rights are secure. Things established in the present are in a constant state of flux. Nothing becomes fixed and predictable for the future. By contrast, our founders defined law to be as binding on the government as it was upon the people. It was designed to give society a stable frame of reference so that people could feel secure in making plans for the future. This is the security which is designed to provide a high degree of freedom from fear and therefore freedom to act. Under established objective law, every person's rights and duties are defined. Even the best men in authority are liable to be corrupted by passion. We may conclude then that the law is reason without passion, and therefore preferable to any individual. No man will contend that a nation can be free that is not governed by fixed laws. All other government than that of permanent known laws is the government of mere will and pleasure. Key points for presentation 4 on rule of law. The primary purpose of government is the equal protection of individual rights. Rights are not secure without a fixed, stable, and objective rule of law. Law is to be as binding on the government as it is upon the people.